First of all, I'd like to say how extremely proud I am of this team to play a team that's picked to win the Pac-12, being a 4-team playoff, and some have picked them to win it all. It's tremendous effort. And as I told them in the locker room, when you can go toe-to-toe and just and play a good football team like that, you know, there's nothing to hold your head down about. Questions?
Again, if we can use the wireless mics.
Hey, Mike, was the plan to go back with Grayson in the second half originally, and did that change after Matt led that touchdown drive at the end of the half?
No, you know, we talked about at the very beginning about execution, performance, and production, and we weren't getting the production out of that position, and we made the switch. And obviously, Matt did a very good job in the time and opportunities he was in there. He could get better as well. There's some things that occurred that he could correct, but more than that, it's about players that can perform, and he rose to the occasion when given his opportunity.
What do you do moving forward? I mean, you just spent an entire preseason with Grayson sort of taking snaps with the first team. How do you move forward with your quarterback situation?
Well, like any other position, you have to perform and you have to play. And so we'll continue to keep evaluating players. We'll look at this tape. We'll grade the tape, find ways we can get better, and the players that can help us perform to get better, I mean, they'll have opportunities to play. So, as I said, proud of the effort of a lot of guys, particularly defensively, that, you know, it was a very good game for them. But, you know, they scored 3 times on us, and, you know, you got to play better. So we'll look at this film, and then we will get ready and correct mistakes and then move on to the next opponent.
Mike, a lot of short, simple passes for Lambert, whereas Johns comes in and hits some deep balls. Early on, was that a case of the coaching staff trying to ease in a new starter, or just Lambert not willing to pull the trigger?
Well, you know, it's hard to say what he was looking at the time, and that'll be evaluated in watching film again. And, you know, you always want to evaluate the quarterbacks of what they're looking at and where they're throwing, but that's part of watching this tape and getting some feedback from Grayson at the time.
Mike, what was your strategy there and down? You had the 4th down. Did you consider going for the field goal? What were you thinking of that at that point?
You know, we were in there was a 2-down position, and unfortunately, the play that was called, you saw the run play there, was not executed. It wasn't a run play; it was a passing play, and Matt misread the signals as they came in. It's unfortunate. As I said, you have a guy that's been playing pretty good the whole game, and then at that time, the signal goes in and he makes a mistake. It's an error, and you know it's one that I know if he wished he could get it back, he'd get it back. But you know, that game wasn't won or lost in that situation. There were so many opportunities during the game that we had.
To clarify, that's the 3rd down play.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you consider on 4th down kicking field goal?
You know, at that time, you know, and conferring with the coaches and just talking about where we were at that time, it was a 2-down territory for us, and you know, obviously we didn't execute and it didn't happen for us.
Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Matt Johns? We haven't seen him, don't know much about him. Just what kind of quarterback is he? What do you like about him?
The thing that Matt has done is, we talked about raising, you know, his football IQ. He's done a great job of running the offense as well. He studies the game. You know, he's a guy that earned playing time today. And what you saw was a young man that, you know, that showed some confidence, showed that he's willing to throw the ball, and but it also showed that he's got some things to learn as well. But again, I'm proud of him and all the other guys and their efforts.
Mike, you kind of just take us through the 3 turnovers. I mean, leading to touchdowns goes without saying. But how frustrating is that? What went wrong in those plays? But more Grayson, obviously the fumble happened with I think Miles there. But what all went wrong in those plays?
Well, the first one was a tip pass that you know, their guy caught and ran for a touchdown. The second one was a catch, or you know, it was a catch fumble, which they had an opportunity to scoop and score on. And then the last one was, you know, was an interception thrown for a touchdown. So, you know, defensively, they were where they needed to be, and they capitalized on our errors. And, you know, again, you talk about if you could, if you should, but you take away those errors and you have a very competitive game. And, you know, we have to look at those things and make sure we don't, you know, we don't harm ourselves when it comes to making plays.
collapsing and turning this into a close game.
No, this is a long journey. This season is a long journey. As I said, there's a lot of people that picked the team we just played to win it all, to be the best team in college football. And as I said, you take something from this and you get better at what you need to do. But no one's hanging their head in that locker room because they know we can play better, we can do better. And the next step is the next opponent, and that's next Saturday.
Mike, the defense was inconsistent last season, but most of those guys were back this year. Did you feel coming out of training camp that it was capable of a performance like it had today against an offense like that?
You know, knowing that we had 8 starters back and a lot of guys that played in the same system, the terminology was the same, having coaches like Mike Archer and Jappy Oliver, you know, join the staff, I knew we could play better defensively. And again, that quarterback, Hundley, is as good as that's out there. That's why he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. And for about, I don't know, 3.5 quarters or so, I mean, you know, they were playing well. But he can run, he can pass, and you saw some things that he did that showed why he's a special player.
Mike, over here to your right. Have you talked to Grayson yet and explained sort of why he got benched, or is that for tomorrow or later?
That's for another time, but you know, Grayson is a young man that understands that as the game was going, that you know, decisions are made for the best interest of the team, and that decision that was made was for the best interest of the team.
Mike, were you surprised at the 10-second runoff there because your guy did get off the field?
It's difficult because if you're under the time constraints and a young man gets hurt, whether it's a legitimate injury or whether, you know, in some cases, young men are trying to fake the injury to stop the clock. Well, in this situation, if you have no timeouts left and you get to that, you know, that point in the game and a guy goes down, and we're trying to get Max off, but it was a leg injury, and the unfortunate part about it is they start the 40-second clock all over again. The clock runs down, and all of a sudden the clock runs out. So if he had a chance to get up off the field, there probably would have been about 23, 24 seconds left, but because we had no timeouts and this new rule, 10-second runoff, they're allowed to take 10 seconds off the clock. You know, again, so the injury causes, you know, you get under that mark, causes the clock to go down.
Right, but he did get up and he did come off.
Well, yeah, he did. And then we were encouraging him to get up, but, you know, the official ran in and conferred, and they came back and they made the ruling that it was the 10-second runoff issue, and that's how the clock lost those 10 seconds and then ran down because the 40-second clock was started again. It's unfortunate that, you know, you see the validity of making sure that you have an opportunity, you know, you don't want young men to be injured, but it's just happened where now the clock and the situation has changed, where if you don't have a timeout, then you lose those 10 seconds.
A couple more questions, then we'll have players.
Mike, some of the fans seem to express some displeasure in the conservative play calling. Was that your game plan? You just felt like against a team like this, you wanted to just keep it close and hope you maybe could force a turnover from them to change the complexion of the game? Or?
You know, we wanted to run the ball to kind of control that tempo a little bit because, as you saw, they are a fast-paced tempo offense, and one of the things you can do is keep the clock running, you know, by having opportunities yourself. The short passes, as were mentioned, that after a tackle, the clock is running as well. So, you know, the game plan was put in place to keep us in the game, and as we got down close to the end, you know, we felt pretty good about where we were at the end of the game. And again, that's something that when you play a team like that has that type of quarterback, you know, you want to construct a game plan to be productive at all facets.
Let's go, Doug, Andrew, and
Yeah,
Jeff.
just to clarify, Mike, do you know that Grayson will start next week, or is that totally up in the air at this point?
I mean, right now we haven't seen the film, we haven't talked to coaches, we haven't got the grades, and so to speak on that right now is a little. We just don't know now, but we will. I mean, we'll get it corrected, and we'll make the decisions that are best for the team.
Kind of piggyback off of what Jerry said. I know you guys raved a lot about the receivers and what they did in the preseason. When the few times you took shots downfield, you seemed to have success. Would you have liked to have done that more? Did you find anything there that you liked about kind of that look? Seemed like Matt especially would like to go downfield.
Well, that's part of what we talked about, having those receivers that could create those matchups, and you saw Andre Leverone and Kanan Severin. You just saw guys go up and get it, and obviously, yes, we want to make those type of throws down the field, and we have to do what we need to do to make that happen. And we'll make sure that gets incorporated more, and we have the opportunities to throw the ball down there and create, as I believe, are mismatches and an advantage for us.
Last question from Joe.
Mike, a lot of questions about the offensive line coming into the season, other than the early play where Grayson got hit from behind. It seemed like they at least protected the quarterbacks well. Were you pleased with what you saw from the line?
I thought the offensive line did a great job. And understand now, this team, no sacks. And this is a team that has a prolific pass rush. They got NFL players playing. And as I said, we were able to protect the quarterback and get the ball out. But I'm particularly pleased with Mike Mooney, first time starting, and Ryan Dow, on the inside. So, again, there's a lot of positive things to pull from this. Obviously, we have to correct some things to get better. But again, that team in there is a team that wants to win, and we'll work hard at getting it done, getting ready for our next opponent.
Reminders.